Hi there, it's very nice to see everyone here today. We want to thank you for joining us. We're going to be sharing a little bit about the historical periods within Giles County, and we want to thank TV3 for allowing us to do this. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope that we make it interesting for you. We've decided that we would begin at the beginning and talking about Casimir Pulaski and also introduce you to William Branch Giles. I think it's rather important that we would know why our city was named Pulaski and why our county is named Giles.
I think so too.
Margaret, why don't you start with Casimir?
Well, it started in 1809 actually, when the county and the city were both founded. Casimir Pulaski, who our town is named for, was a revolutionist to say the least. He was always looking for a fight in one form or another. Just to put it in a little perspective, he was of noble birth. He was Polish. For his 17th birthday, some of us might have received a vehicle as a gift. He received a town. So that tells you a little bit about where he came from, the circumstances from where he came. His father, himself, and two brothers were part of a revolution in Poland at the time when he was about 19 years old. Russia was encroaching very much on Poland, and they decided that they didn't like that, so they became part of a revolution. He was at one point arrested along with his brothers and father for regicide against Stanislav II, who was the ruler of Poland at the time. He escaped though to France. In between that, he was involved in a Turkish revolution as well. He started to become known all over Europe for his prowess in military affairs. He escaped to France though, and that's where we come in. He met Benjamin Franklin, who was a Francophile. He loved all things French, and he let George Washington know about Casimir Pulaski's prowess as a military genius at the time. So Casimir wrote letters to George Washington offering his assistance in the American Revolution and ended up in the United States waiting for a commission into the military, which took a while, but that didn't hold him back. He went to several battles as an observer to see exactly what was going on, and that gave him more ammunition to speak to the Continental Congress about why there was a need for a cavalry. And he was known as the father of the cavalry. He has been honored all over the country. He's had cities and towns named after him. There's a National Casimir Pulaski Day. There are roads, there are forts, there are colleges, there are all sorts of institutions named after Casimir Pulaski. He did die during the Revolution. He died in Savannah after being wounded on October the 9th in 1779. He was taken aboard a ship off the coast of Savannah and died 2 days later from gangrene. Controversy seemed to follow him wherever he went, and it followed him in his death.
Just didn't let it go, could he?
No, there were first-hand accounts that said that he was buried at sea. There were other accounts that said his body was removed from the ship and taken to Greenwich Plantation in Savannah and buried there in the family cemetery. Later on, and even to this day, there is controversy. There is a large monument that stands in a square in Savannah to Casimir Pulaski. That body that was taken to that cemetery was exhumed and placed underneath that large monument, and they are still to this day doing DNA testing to see with his descendants whether or not he was the real Casimir Pulaski is buried there. He's had a postage stamp. He's had postcards, and he has been given an honor by President Obama just in 2009 that has only been given to 7 other people, Mother Teresa included, and that was, he was posthumously awarded American citizenship. So wow. That is who our town is named after.
That's fascinating. I've actually seen the statue in Savannah, and it really is. It's very, very, very beautiful, and it truly, this picture doesn't really
do justice.
It just doesn't. It really doesn't.
Are you looking for lightning-fast, dependable data service? Look no further than PES Energize. If you have slow internet at home or at work, PES Energize can offer high-speed, quality solutions. Take a look at Murray Chevrolet and Anchor IT Solutions. Both are satisfied customers. PES Energize can sign you up for lightning-fast internet or a broad lineup of great TV packages. Pick up the phone or stop by today to join the PES Energize family. Don't suffer with slow internet any longer. Call PES Energize.
Well, I'm going to share with you a little bit about William Branch Giles.
Okay.
He was apparently, he would have been 17 by the time that Casimir Pulaski was felled in the siege of Savannah. So he was born in 1762. He would go on to live until 1830, so he died at the age of 68. So he really stayed in there. There are similarities between Pulaski and Giles. They were both rabble rousers. They loved to stir things up. Whereas he fought with a sword, Giles chose to fight within the legal and legislative theaters. And trust me, he had friends and he didn't mind making enemies either. He graduated from what would later become Princeton University with a law degree. When he married his first wife in 1796, he built her a little 28-room house. Now, in today's world, and from my reality, a 28 rooms constitutes a mansion. He called it a house, a little house called the wigwam. So obviously he was also, like Pulaski, he was born of privilege. He became a lawyer. That was where he began his conversations and correspondence with Thomas Jefferson. They would remain lifelong friends. There's a lot of correspondence online that you can reference. It's pretty interesting. He also, his contemporaries included Andrew Jackson, of course Thomas Jefferson, Aaron Burr, Madison. But what I really find interesting about him is that he was not afraid to pick up and do battle. If he did not like you in the Senate, he would submit resolutions to have you impeached. If he didn't like you in the legal world, he would submit letters to have you disbarred. He truly was never afraid. He never walked away from William Branch Giles wondering, wonder what he thought about me. He would let you know pretty quickly. So he would not only become a lawyer, he would become a senator, and eventually became the 24th governor of Virginia. Interestingly enough, he was very pro-states' rights. Remember, the political parties back then were a little bit different from what they are now. You still had the Federalists. Remember, we were just coming out of our Revolutionary War, and there was a party that wanted to, even though we wanted to maintain our separation from Britain, we wanted them to still be our little friends and our little buddies. That was the Federalists. You had the Democrat-Republican Party that said, no thank you, we don't want anything to do with you. So he was very states' rights. And of course, understanding that he was born of privilege, I find it interesting that he fought against the First National Bank, which would later become our Federal Reserve System.
He did.
And he also did not believe in public education. He did not understand why he had to pay for the education of someone else's child. Especially when that child was needed on the farm. Remember that he came from Virginia, a very agrarian society, a lot of farms down there, and so he really felt like the boys needed to be at home. So in addition to all of this, he also would write essays that when he became disgusted with politics, he would kind of jump in and jump out over the years. And if he didn't have a place to try to get you disbarred or impeached, he would just write essays and he would just publish them. He was a prolific writer. He truly was. He was just a character. But eventually when he became the governor of Virginia, although he had fought against big government his entire life, once he became the governor, he kind of liked the power, and he fought to keep power in the hands of the landed gentry, of the upper classes, which of course he was a member. So I find it very interesting. There are a lot of correlations, a lot of similarities between these two. They were both fiery people that believed in what they believed in and would fight, in his case, to the death. And this guy, he would just write resolutions. So that's pretty much it. But I wanted to tell you how our county came to be known as Giles. Back in 1809, when the county was founded, it was actually submitted, originally our county was submitted as Richland County.
It was.
It got snuck in by someone, we think someone might have been a friend of Andrew Jackson, to actually change it to Giles County. And on the third reading in the Senate, you have to read the resolution 3 times, someone tried to slip in the name Shelby. And fortunately for us, it was not. It went ahead. Giles was continued to be passed through the House and the Senate. So we came this close to either being called Richland or Shelby. So I found that rather interesting myself. That's pretty much all. I'm not going to share with you all of the different details between his political resume. It's, to me, I encourage you to come down here to the Giles County Historical Room and the Genealogy Room and the museum. Do some research on your own. There's a multitude of references from which you can look into. The volunteers down here are always helpful for you, and there's a lot of good reading down here. We want to thank you for being with us today.
Yes, thank you.
And be sure to keep a lookout for us on TV3. You don't know where we're ever going to show up again.
Or who might show up with us.
That's right. Thanks for sharing with me. That was fun.